Wasn't planning on doing the news, but we've got news. So let's rewind the clock a little bit. Robert Kennedy Jr. wanted to run for president for the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party said no, we want Joe Biden, and the primary was set up so that RFK Jr. had no chance of being the candidate for the Democrats. Kennedy is a lifelong Democrat, part of the most famous Democratic Party ever. His uncle was president, he was assassinated. His father was running for president, likely to be elected. He was also assassinated. A lot of things he's done in his life. No time for that. Either way, Kennedy, a Democrat, well, they won't let him run. So he decides, I'll do it on my own and I will run as a third party candidate. Now, here's a scenario that could play out. You've got Trump, the Republican, Kamala Harris, the Democrat, and then the third party. Although technically, Kennedy's more of a Democrat. So the theory goes that if he runs, he may steal votes away from Kamala Harris. That would result in a Trump win. The Democrats don't like, the Republicans do like. So he gets out, runs as a third party. They say, no. Well, what can you do about it? Well, they took him to court. They fought him, sued him, and were able to remove his name from ballots in various states, making it impossible for him to run. They wouldn't let him run as a Democrat. The Democratic Party then wouldn't let him run as a third party candidate. And Kennedy this week has had enough. And the rumor, which seems to be confirmed by ABC News, is he's dropping out and he is joining Trump. Is this time for the Democrats to freak out? Probably. So we can see this insider news update, and that swing internals for Kamala have taken a complete nosedive. What does that mean? What is a swing internal? They're internal polls at the Democratic Party that analyze the swing states. Those are the lightly colored blue or lightly colored red states that could go every direction, that determine who gets elected. They're freaking out because their internal polls are suggesting that Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, those could now go to Trump. And that was actually before the RFK news. After the RFK news, there might be even more of a freakout going on. Crisis meeting, RFK news hasn't helped. Oh, we have more breaking news. So over the last year, the Democrats and Joe Biden and his administration have said the economy is great. Look at these numbers. We're adding jobs. Now, if you were to rewind the clock to March 28th, some people really dug into the numbers and really analyzed it and said, yes, no. These numbers are likely off by 800,000 jobs. The jobs that you claim that you added in 2023, your numbers were off by almost a million. That's what they said. People just ignored it. They kept saying the economy was great. On the 21st, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reviewed their data, looked at the jobs reports, and said, yeah, sorry, we were wrong by 800,000 jobs. We didn't really add as many jobs. The economy is not actually doing that well. That error by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics that they caught months later, second biggest error in history. Nice. So while he has been claiming for the last year, we are adding jobs, most Americans or many Americans were scratching their heads saying, I don't see it. The economy is not doing well. I feel like I'm in a recession. Are those numbers right? How can that be? Yeah, actually those numbers were not right. And what you saw with your eyes, what looked like a recession, what looked like a struggling economy, it really was. The economy is not great. That's more bad news for the Democrats. Well, there's even more bad news that could sway this election that's also in this report. Native versus foreign-born workers. Let's look closer. First of all, since 2019, these numbers are in the hundred thousands. So that 3041, that's 3 million. Since 2019, America has added 3 million jobs for foreign-born workers. Since 2019, America, 1.35 million people that were born in America have lost jobs. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics tells us since 2019, there's been a huge swing in jobs for foreign born workers, whereas people born in America are losing a bunch of jobs. Probably not going to go over well with the electorate and voters. We look even closer, we can see on our chart, you see the big nosedive in March of 2020. That was COVID. Everything starts to bounce back. Then in January of 2021, Joe Biden takes over, institutes his policy, one of a lenient immigration strategy, if we could say. And once his policy comes into place, we see a little bit of lag. But by September, after the borders have been opened up a little bit, we start to see the green line, which is foreign born workers, go through the roof. And we see that the native born workers numbers stagnate and stay flat for the most part. Theoretically, this would be the result of an open borders policy, and the numbers seems to suggest that's the case. If you bring in more foreign workers, they're going to get jobs. And there's only so many jobs to go around. And so the native born workers number doesn't increase. So is this time to freak out? Well, again, Trump's numbers have increased that poly market up to 53%. It was 50 on Tuesday, jumped to 52 on Wednesday. Now, Thursday morning, we're at 53%. And it might be time to freak out because this is a time where Kamala Harris and the Democrats should be receiving quite a bump. They're hosting their Democratic National Convention in Chicago. It's a big party. Typically, numbers should increase during this time, but they're going in the opposite direction because of economic news, RFK news, you name it. It might just be time to freak out, but there's still a lot of time left remaining in the election cycle.